So I'll go ahead and get started. We get started, like I said, please write in the chat where you're coming from. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us in this next hour, in which will be a very informative webinar for you and the success of your SACNAS chapter. And before we get started, I would like to introduce myself quickly. My name is Angel Rebollar. I serve as the National Chapters Manager at SACNAS, and I do everything from welcoming in new chapters to having them submit their annual reports, the chapter programming at the NDI-SIM conference, and throughout the year as well. So I'm the go-to person for any questions that you have or any resources or introductions that you need with the National Chapter Network. And now I will provide you an overview of what we will be doing for the next hour or less. I'll first start off by talking about what requirements are needed from the national office in order to maintain an active chapter and some tips to keeping it active. And then we will hear from our 3 chapter officers that will share their experiences as well. We will then be answering any questions that you have and discuss any topics that come up. So to get started off, in order to ensure that your chapter is in active status with the national office, your chapter needs to submit an annual report. This is required from all active chapters every year. The report comes in 2 parts and is required to be eligible for benefits such as the annual chapter awards, chapter programming at the NDI-SIM conference, and for you to be insured by SACNAS. The SACNAS National Office also needs this to learn more about your chapter to provide better support throughout the year. In addition, your chapter will remain listed on the chapter directory, which is great because you never know when someone would like to connect with you, whether it is a potential sponsor or a member wanting to join your chapter. As well as your chapter group stays active in the SACNAS member online community. Being part of the online community will allow you to communicate with other members and members from other chapters as well. And elections are a crucial component to sustaining your SACNAS chapter. Most chapters do elections in the springtime in order to select their chapter officers for the next academic year. It is highly recommended to maintain the structure of your chapter. And you can do elections via Google Forms, social media, whatever best fits for you. And it is great to encourage and motivate your members to become officers throughout the year so that it becomes less of a difficulty before the academic year ends. Another great tip to ensure that you retain your members is to remind them about the benefits that SACNAS offers throughout the year, not only at your chapter, but at the national level as well. On top of the national conference that we host every year in October, SACNAS offers many programs and opportunities in the spring and summertime, such as our new mentoring program, CareerCon, access to the national online member community, as I was stating before, monthly webinars like this one, and a career center, and more. Many people might not really know what SACNAS is and what it offers, so it is a responsibility of an officer to show them how beneficial it is for their career as a STEM student. And having an active chapter email address is crucial to the sustainability of your chapter. Since officers come and go throughout the years, having one centralized email account to communicate with SACNAS National and the National Chapter Network is very important. Every chapter should have a designated email address that is accessible to all or designated officers. I recommend to do a Gmail account, but whatever fits best for you and your members is totally fine as well. This email account should be reviewed weekly in order to stay up to date with the announcements, with any upcoming announcements or any important emails that come throughout the year. Essentially, it is important to keep this email active in order to have records of old emails and accessibility for future officers that might need to find something in the archives. Recruiting and retaining members can be a tough thing to do for you and your officers, but there are many different ways to do this depending on the size and where you're located at as well. As a reminder, all student chapters are required to have at least 10 members and 1 advisor. A couple of great tips are to participate at student affairs, to talk about SACNAS and its benefits, and also collaborating with other student organizations is a great way to expand your network and introduce SACNAS to other members who would be interested in joining. And then I'll let our speakers touch a little bit more about this as well. And ask questions. This is very underrated, but ask questions and stay connected with us. We have an email account, chapters@sacnas.org, that we check that throughout the whole year. So we're always available for help. Set up a call with me or other SACNAS staff as well. Like I said, we're available throughout the year. We are usually busy the most busy in October, but other than that, we're always available for any questions or anything like that. And join our chapter Slack channel as well. We have a dedicated chapter Slack channel for our members, in which we have a lot of members there from basically most chapters, I think, are in there. And we also have a dedicated one for chapter advisors only. So if you know that your chapter advisor has a Slack channel and they are not part of this channel, please invite them. The link is in the chat, and they are more than welcome to join. And if you need any other information from other chapters, such as the contact information or maybe the size or location or whatever it is, just email me or set up a call with me, and we could get you connected with other nearby chapters. Now, in regards to the recent attacks on DEI initiatives from the new presidential administration, SACNAS will remain committed to our mission and is here to support you. A few reminders. SACNAS is not a political organization, nor do we affiliate with any political party. It is important to note this, as our chapters should not make direct stances with any political party. And since we have many chapters in most of the 50 states in the country, it is important that you do your research for what is going on in your state, your county, and in your institution in regards to attacks on DEI initiatives. If that means having to be mindful about your language on behalf of your chapter's goals and mission, that is okay, and we are here to support you to keep your chapter active and eligible for funding from your institution. We don't want these drastic changes and attacks to negatively affect our chapter, so it's important to stay up to date with the news and ask us questions as we all go through this together. While SACNAS cannot provide any legal advice at the moment, we strongly encourage our members to consult with your institutions, directors, and funders that support your chapter. That said, leverage your networks and resources. Your institution is a resource. As a student organization, we encourage you to refer to your institution's guidelines and talk to your student affairs office. And your chapter familia is a resource. SACNAS is built on community, and we are here to keep you connected via our membership platforms, such as our member portal, as I was stating, the Slack channel, as I was stating as well, social media, and through email and phone calls. We hope you will find the strength and support by staying connected, informed, and collaborating with one another. This is what the SACNAS community is here for, and we remain committed to keeping you connected. As a community, this year we will meet October 30th to November 1st in Columbus, Ohio for our annual conference. So plan to be there and join us. So now, before we get into any questions, I want to introduce our three speakers for today. Larissa Sais from the University of Houston, Caitlin Bravo-Rose from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and Ileana Gonzalez from the College of New Jersey, who will be talking about their experiences and tips on how to sustain a long-term chapter, and will be available for questions as well. As they are speaking, feel free to put in the chat anything that you agree with and share any resources that you have as well. So I'll pass it on to you, Larissa. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna replace your screen. Okay, so thanks all of you guys for coming. Gonna be talking to you about the University of Houston chapter. So a little bit about myself. My name is Larissa Sais. I am the UH SACNAS president, and I've been president since 2018. I'm also one of the student representatives on the SACNAS board of directors and the SACNAS chapter subcommittee co-chair for this year. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Houston, and I do evolutionary genetics. I do genetic mapping in fruit flies. So the University of Houston SACNAS chapter was established in 2018, right after the NDI STEM conference in San Antonio. We've been an official registered student organization since 2019. We became a provisional chapter with SACNAS National in 2020 and an official chapter in 2021. We were awarded Outstanding Chapter for STEM Diversity in 2022. We were the Graduate and Professional Chapter of the Year in 2023 and Outstanding Chapter for Leadership in Science last year. And these are some pictures of us throughout the years at the NDI STEM conference. So I feel like I have kind of a unique experience in that I like established a chapter that then became like an award-winning chapter. So I can kind of speak from having a chapter at like multiple different points. So kind of to acknowledge that starting a chapter is really, really difficult. It's hard to get other people that like have the same kind of passion to want to be able to do this. So one kind of piece of advice that I can give is that if you're wanting to start a chapter, then you should try to get like a bunch of people from your institution to go to the NDI STEM conference, because that's a very high energy, very like feel good time to start a chapter. So usually people are going to be more willing to get that started right after the NDI STEM conference. I want to highlight that people don't automatically know how to be leaders. Like leadership is something that you grow into. So when you're starting a chapter, even sustaining a chapter, you have new officers coming in. Don't expect them to automatically know how to do everything, because they're not going to do it. You have to kind of ease them into it, and you have to acknowledge like, hey, maybe this is your first leadership experience. You've never done something like this before. Our chapter is kind of huge, so it might be a little bit intimidating to step into like an already established chapter with people that have been there for years and already know what they're doing. You might have feelings of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know enough to be able to contribute well. And just, reassure them like, hey, I know this is a little bit scary. I know this is a lot. Whether you're starting a new chapter or, stepping into one that's already been established, it's scary either way. So ease them into it. And keeping a chapter going is difficult. There's, leadership turnover. There's people that know how things were done in the past that leave, and then you don't have that institutional knowledge anymore. So for that, I would recommend like stay in touch with older officers that graduate, or really good resource for this kind of stuff is faculty advisors, especially if faculty advisors stay faculty advisors for the chapter for multiple years. Then they definitely have a really good institutional like knowledge, institutional memory of what's going on, what the chapter's done in the past, and how they've gotten things accomplished. Patience, kindness, and collaboration is key. So definitely like be kind to your other officers and your members, be patient with them, and remember that, working with other people is absolutely necessary, especially like in times like this. We need to work with each other as a chapter, work with other chapters, and work with other organizations as well to make this happen. One really big piece of advice that I have is only take on events or work that you know that your chapter can handle. Like each chapter is different. Each chapter has different strengths and different weaknesses. But if you're taking on more than the leadership of your chapter as a whole can handle, things start getting a little bit dicey, and maybe you start dropping balls. You don't want to take on too much. And boundary setting is a beautiful thing for individuals, but it's also a beautiful thing for chapters. So if someone comes up to you like, hey, I want to do this collaboration, or hey, you should help us with this event, it's okay to say no. Like if you already have too much going on, it's fine to be like, hey, we're just really swamped right now, or we don't have the bandwidth to be able to do that. We don't have officers that are able to spearhead this initiative. We can't do this right now. Like maybe come to us later and we can do it later, but right now is not a good time. So this is a lot of stuff that we've definitely learned as a chapter. Another piece of advice that I can give as far as sustainability is creating a chapter identity. So I think the UH chapter is really unique in that we've created a very strong identity for ourselves. So we have like these two logos over here that we've branded like all of our stuff with. Easily recognizable on campus, easily recognizable in the community. And we also have a chapter mascot. His name is Fred. We 3D print these and we like give them out at events and stuff like that. Um, and we also have a chapter Discord. So we've been able to create that identity like through the Discord and then bring it out into the real world. And it's been really fun to see. So something that I do highly recommend is like finding what your chapter loves. Like in our case, it was frogs. So that became our mascot. And then come up with like a logo or something really recognizable for your chapter and keep your branding consistent, whether it's at recruitment events, on social media, etc. Like definitely keep your branding consistent. And I'll show you our website in a second. It's very similar. Um, Ensuring consistent leadership. So don't be content with where your leadership is at. So you might have like a really, really, really strong group of officers, really, really strong group of leaders. That's fantastic, but don't get comfortable if that's the case, because once those people graduate, what is going to happen to your chapter? You want that chapter to continue after the people leading it graduate. So keep your eyes on the future and make sure that when you're bringing in new officers, those older officers, more seasoned officers, are training those newer officers, making sure that they know how everything is done, making sure they know where everything is, and making sure that they're able to step in and take over once those more seasoned officers are gone. You really need to learn how to identify leaders within your chapter membership and within your university community. So if there are members or people like in your university that are engaging a lot, or you notice like, hey, these people are like really into diversity in STEM, or these people are really into STEM education, like we could really use this kind of person like in our leadership, approach them and be like, hey, would you consider running, for a SACNAS officer position, or would you consider applying to be a SACNAS officer? Like we could really use some help like that. I think that personable like connection of like physically like going up to the person and saying, you would be really good for this. We really need someone like you, is extremely effective. And teach your new officers how to do that as well, because it's not something that people just know to do. You have to like, I always tell people like, how I asked you to apply, like you should look for people that you think are good and apply as well. So that I think is extremely important in ensuring like consistent leadership throughout the years. So I hear a lot of chapters like talk about, oh, like we're going to create a community, but like, how are you going to do that? Like actually create a community. So for us, that means like forming strong relationships and forming strong friendships between officers, between members, and also our faculty advisors. So you can see like we had a game night like a couple weeks ago, and our faculty advisor like came to game night and hung out with us. So this has a lot to do with just like actually knowing your fellow officers, your faculty advisors, and your members like on a personal level, to where they feel that is a space that I can feel safe, and that is a space where I can express myself freely. And that's worked really well for us. Like we have a lot of people that come and say like, this chapter is like my family, like my home away from home. So I think that's really important in actually creating the community, because it's one thing to like have social events and stuff like that, but if you're not connecting with people on a personal level, it doesn't matter if you're just like watching movies with people all the time. So actually creating that community. And then kind of what Angel touched on earlier, chapter data accessibility. So it's really important that all of the data that your chapter has is accessible by multiple people within the chapter, and it's able to be passed to the next leadership. So that includes emails. We have a Gmail, so we have a Google Drive that we put everything on, or SharePoint if that's something that your university uses. I know our university does use the Microsoft Office suite. So if Teams and SharePoint is something that works for you better because your university uses that, then definitely make sure that multiple officers have access to that. Bank account. Oh my God, that is so important. Like, make sure that you are passing down that information. We have a chief financial officer for ours, and they have a team of like 3 people that work for them. So those people have access to the bank account, and then we have to make sure every time that it's like, okay, we're going in, we're changing the name on the debit card, we're changing the contact information. You do not want to have that stuff out of date. Your social media accounts. I also have, like, I'm the chair of the social media team for my chapter. So we have 4 people that are dedicated, like social media people that do posts and stuff like that. You need to make sure that multiple people have access to the social media account. So it's not like, okay, there's one person that has all of the passwords for the social media account. They graduate, and then no one in the new leadership like knows how to log into the social media accounts. That is terrible, and it should never happen. Canva. We use Canva to make flyers and stuff for our events. You need to make sure that you have, like, if you have a Google account, like you have a Canva account. So you can use the Google account that you have for your chapter to make a chapter like Canva account. And then multiple people can access it, because we've had the problem where people make advertisements like on their personal Canva, and then there's a mistake on the flyer and we need to fix it, but we can't access it because it's on their personal Canva. That's a problem. You need to have it so where multiple officers can access that at a time. And website too, same concept. You need to make sure that someone active in the leadership, whether that be officers or faculty advisors, would also be a really good person to like handle this, so that the website can stay up to date. And then your chat platforms like Discord or GroupMe, we use Discord. Make sure there's multiple admins in there that are able to keep up the server. So this is kind of an example that we have of like our Gmail from our officer training, and I'll show you guys this too. So we have like a layout of what is in each of the drives that we have, like where you need to find stuff and what you can put in there, like if someone is making new documents. Um, so to kind of like wrap up before I show you guys some other stuff, when I think about chapters, establishing chapters, I always think of this quote from Hamilton, like, legacy, what is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden that you never get to see. So if you're like starting a chapter, you're planting those seeds, and you want to have that legacy. You want that chapter to exist like after you have already graduated and moved on. So you have to be careful with the seeds, and you have to treat them really good so that they can grow after you're gone. So really quick, I wanted to show you guys the PowerPoint that we have for new officer training. So we have like an introduction with our advisors, informations about our meetings, all of the different committees that we have. So we have professional development, outreach, finance, and cultural events. And we usually require our officers to be in at least 2 of these committees. So they kind of know what type of events they need to be focusing on planning. And then the 2 extra, like social media and secretary. We have a leadership retreat every summer before the academic school year starts, to get to know each other and to make sure that we have things planned for the following semester. We have a Discord server, and a lot of people don't know how to use Discord, but if you're an officer, that's kind of important. So we teach our officers like how to navigate Discord, like what our bots do, and that officers need to be mods in the Discord. So if someone is like writing inappropriate messages or scams or anything like that, then the officers are the ones that have to step in and clean that up. How to navigate our Google Drives, how to update the website, and what the chapter constitution is. And we have a thing at our university called Get Involved, which is where all of the student organizations like request money or upload events so that all of the student body at the university can know what's going on. So we have to teach them how to use that as well, and how to put events through Get Involved. Advertising at our university comes in like different forms. So we have a section on like how to advertise at the university, and how to apply for funding, and then how to keep up to date with national, including the roster, reports and awards, and then a section about our finances. So I actually have to do that on Monday because we have new officers that we have to train. And this is our website. So we have a little bit about what we do. We have our events, which actually on the Discord, we have a bot that pulls these events from the website and announces them in the Discord server. Information about research at our university, the leadership for our chapter, and a little bit about them. And we also have a section on like officers that have graduated in the past. And then we have a resource section where we can write articles or we can have someone write articles, and then it populates this, and then workshops that pull from our YouTube account and populate here. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Awesome. Thank you, Larissa. Pass it on to Caitlin now.
Perfect. Let's see. Okay. I realized while Larissa was talking that I forgot to make a slide introducing myself. So I'll do that at the top. So my name is Caitlin Brabble Rose. I am a fifth-year PhD candidate at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I was the president of our SACNAS Charlotte chapter from 2023 to 2024. I was vice president before that, and I've been a member since 2021. Our chapter was founded in 2020 during the peak of the pandemic, and so sustainability has been a really key focus for our chapter since we started during such a difficult time to build our chapter. And during the conference last year in 2024 in Phoenix, our chapter was awarded the Long-Term Sustainability Award. So I kind of pulled some of the resources that we put together while preparing that application to kind of give you guys some ideas of how we've sustained our chapter through like activities and recruitment and retaining students and things like that. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys to get some ideas. So first I want to talk about recruitment. So we put a lot of effort into recruiting new members. UNC Charlotte luckily has a lot of welcome events that we participate in throughout the year. We're a graduate and undergraduate chapter, and so we kind of get the benefit of going to undergraduate focused events and graduate focused events, and we're predominantly based in the biology department. And so we go to a lot of events that are department focused. So like, for example, in the last year, there's a Department of Biological Sciences welcome event that we attend. We have a Latinx student union here at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I recommend looking to see if your university has like specific student unions. The Latinx student union here is a huge organization that we've collaborated with to help recruit students and provide resources to their members. There's been a few other programs like the 49er Intensive Transition Program, which focused on Hispanic students in 2023 to help prepare them for starting at UNC Charlotte that we spoke at. We have a huge student organization showcase that happens every single year. And we go to research meet and greets that are coordinated by other graduate organizations. So while I was president of SACNAS Charlotte, I was also the vice president of our biology graduate students organization. So when I was doing both of those things, I did a lot to kind of like cross-pollinate almost and build collaborations between the two organizations so that that relationship was built for all of our future members. So this is a picture actually from today of our current officers. They couldn't make it today, unfortunately, because they've been doing this event all day. This is the research meet and greet. They had a table for people to come and sign up with some resources about upcoming meetings, some programming that we're offering for people to sign up for. And so there they are. It was very nice. This event has a few hundred students come through it throughout the day. So it's a really good way to get a lot of people to learn about your chapter in a short period of time. Now, focusing on retention, once we get those students in, we have to make sure that they continue coming to events and they stick around. This tends to be like the difficult part, in my opinion. Like, we can get a bunch of people to sign up, but getting them to show up to the events and to then show up to more than one event is really difficult. What we found is that food is a really strong motivator. So we did what we've been doing. We started in 2023 doing a potluck for Hispanic Heritage Month. So we have this big potluck. Everybody comes and eats and gets to hang out and socialize. We're there for a few hours. That's been a really successful event for us that keeps bringing people back. Our new officers this semester started doing cocoa and community. So with some of the funding that we've been able to get, they just provide free cocoa. We can come hang out, chat, spend some time together, and build those relationships that Larissa was talking about is so important. Another thing that we've done, we received a grant from the university in 2021 that was for what's called our SACNAS Links program. This paired graduate students with undergraduate students for an entire semester to kind of act as mentors. And through that program, we were able to provide a stipend to kind of incentivize people to join and to stick around. And so that we've spent all that money. And so we've since developed what's called Graduate Guides, which is a shorter term program that's going to pair graduate students with undergrads to help them apply for graduate school or scholarships, medical school, things like that. And we're in the process now of trying to figure out how to generate some funds to help, provide gift cards, things like that to help people want to sign up and get some additional fun benefit from joining these programs. But we've already had a really big turnout for this Graduate Guides program so far. I think we have 10 graduate students that are signed up to pair with 1 to 4 undergraduates each throughout the rest of the semester. And so we find, since we're a graduate and undergraduate chapter, by pairing our graduate students with undergraduates, we kind of help build those relationships. And we found that undergrads really benefit because a lot of times when they work with these mentors, they make their way into research labs. And then that builds into, I think this is my next slide, applying to go to the conference. So a huge thing for our chapter, we encourage all of our members to apply to go to the NDI STEM conference. Another way I've kind of been able to cross-pollinate, I'm a doctoral writing fellow for my university. And so I was able to, in collaboration with that fellowship that I'm doing, generate these workshops that I'm able to offer for our graduate students here at UNCC, but also specifically for our SACNAS Charlotte members, focusing on writing abstracts to go to the conference and how to get travel funding to be able to go to the conference. And so I offer the abstract writing workshop every semester, and then I offer the travel funding workshop during the spring once those applications open for the conference. And so this is something that's been really, you develop it once and then you just offer it. And now that's a resource that's available for all of our future officers after I graduate in December, so that they have these resources available to them to keep people applying to go to that conference. I'm also happy to share these resources if anyone's interested. It's just tips and tricks on how to write an effective abstract and how to look for funding, not only through SACNAS, but through other resources to be able to go to the conference. And from there, when we send people to the conference, that helps us build continuity. We've really found that when our members go to the conference, they become super involved with the chapter. So this first picture here is from us, our little group that went to Puerto Rico in 2022. There was 1, 2, 3, there was 6 of us total that went. And from there, we had, I think, 15 in 2023, and then we had 18 in 2024 go to the conference. And that's really helped. Like, you'll see familiar faces in all of these pictures, because once they go once, they want to go again. And so that's been a really big motivator, is getting them to go once to get them to go back again and again and again. What was really cool in 2024, in this picture, she was an undergrad in my lab, Yeleni. While she was at the Puerto Rico conference, she got a graduate school waiver, and now she's at that graduate program and came back to her program, then sent her to the conference in 2024. And so she's now brought SACNAS to her new university, and they're working on building a chapter there. Another thing that I've tried to do, I write a lot, I write blogs. So I wrote a blog for our graduate school to kind of highlight us going to this conference, to show to our graduate school, hey, we have students going to this conference. Look at all the money that they secured to go to this conference. You should continue investing in this chapter and in this program to send more people there, because then we can recruit more students to come to UNCC for graduate school. And we get to go present our research. We've had 3 members win research presentation awards by going to the conference, which has been really cool. So yeah, highly recommend. And from there, I didn't talk as long, but I hope that this was useful. I'm happy to answer any questions. I've also written a blog for the Integrative and Comparative Biology blog, highlighting some of our members for Hispanic Heritage Month. These are just some pictures of us at different events. Like, anytime there's an event that we can toss up this little poster that we made, we're at it. It's been a lot of effort, but it's been really rewarding to kind of see how the chapter has grown over time. And I'm really excited to see how many of our members we can bring to Columbus this year. And that's all I have.
Awesome, awesome. That was great. Thank you very much, Caitlin. I'll pass it on to Ileana now.
Cool, thank you. Let me share my screen. Hopefully you all can see this. Hi, everyone. I'm Ileana Gonzalez. I'm the co-president of the undergraduate chapter at the College of New Jersey. So our institution, lovingly known as TCNJ, is a primarily undergraduate institution. We don't have any grad programs connected with STEM, so it really is an undergraduate specific chapter. And our college is really small. We have about 7,200 students. So it's a pretty small chapter. And our chapter was provisional in 2022 and officially recognized in 2023. So we're also a really, really young chapter. I think that we've done a really great job so far trying to be able to sustain a new chapter at a small college. So I think that's why we're here today, to talk about that perspective a little bit more. I also didn't include a get to know me slide, but I am a senior undergraduate. I've been a co-president of SACNAS for 1.5 years now, and I'm a biology major here. So really, really excited to be talking to you all today. One big thing for us to get our chapter known and recognized by all of our students is having different ways to communicate to the students. Our main form here at the college is using GroupMe. So all of the student organizations use GroupMe. It's not my favorite platform. I know there's other platforms like Discord that a lot of other institutions use. GroupMe can be a little bit messy here and there, but it's really great for having back and forth communication with your entire chapter and general members, getting that interest out there about events, giving a little bit more detail about what's going on, different opportunities that are coming up, and asking for input for what students want to see, as well as answering any questions that they might have about what SACNAS does, any resources that they know we can provide to them, a little bit more input about being a cultural organization on campus, especially at a PWI. It's a really just great platform for us to be able to communicate back and forth, essentially. Another great way for us to advertise things is on Instagram, TCNJ_SACNAS, if you want to go check it out. This is where we share our flyers for big events. We recap a lot of the events that we host, so students know, like, hey, we have a lot of students coming to these things. These are great things that you can come out to, where we have alum talk or different industry events that they can attend. It really is a way that we can drive engagement. That's a little bit easier for students that aren't involved to see, essentially. And then our formal form of communication, which I really highly recommend that all chapters should have, is a SACNAS email. So our institution has all of the organizations provided an email. So it's a TCNJ email, but it is through Gmail. So that gives us access to a Google Drive. We have delegates that can access that email. So there's 3 e-board members that have access, and that gets passed down. I highly recommend that you have a couple different years of students there. So there's a couple seniors on there, but we also have a sophomore, which allows for them to get antiquated with the email, with the drive. And then we can also provide our other e-board members access to the drive, which gives us a really nice way to centralize things. This is also a great way to keep in touch with other chapters and also other organizations on campus that we can collaborate with that have been here a little bit longer. That way we can get our chapter out there so students know what to look for. This is also where we get a lot of our opportunities as well. So we sign up for a bunch of different emails. This is where internship opportunities for students, either collaborations from industry as well. All of that is centralized here, and it gives us a really easy way to kind of gather all of those things to give out to our students. I want to talk about some things that have been difficult as a smaller chapter and as a new chapter, because we're so new and at a small institution, student engagement can be really difficult. And I don't want that to scare anyone, but I also want to be realistic. When you're at a small institution with a lot of organizations on campus already, a lot of them are also major specific. So being a large STEM organization, it can kind of get a little murky, trying to not compete, but work within the other organizations that already exist and let them know that we're here to collaborate with them and highlight the work that they do, but also highlighting our mission as a national chapter of SACNAS and really implementing that cultural element as well, which I feel like is lacking in a lot of these organizations. It can also be difficult to expand across departments. We have a lot of bio majors that are involved on our e-board, so we try to diversify and make sure we're reaching out to other students across different departments like engineering and mathematics. This is where collaborating with other organizations that already exist is really useful for us to get our name out there. And the other thing that we deal with a lot is funding for events. This is something that can be really unreliable at times. As a recognized student organization at our institution, we're funded by a student finance board. So we have to request funding anytime that we need it. And they don't really love a lot of the requests that come with SACNAS's events. There are a lot of restrictions. So we know our events do really well when we have food. We can't get funding for food through SFB. So we have to find different ways to navigate that and get a little creative with what events we're planning, prioritizing where we want to get our funding from, and otherwise look for ways that we don't need funding to really be able to host our events. So that's something that we've run into a lot. And I'm sure if you're at an undergraduate institution, especially, this is something you probably will run into as well at some point. Some things we can do to navigate that, and I think that has really helped our chapter grow and sustain itself, is having a really strong e-board. I know Larissa and Caitlin both talked about this a little bit, but having students that are involved across campus, we have a lot of students that are in different organizations, also on their e-boards, really involved with maybe some work that they do on campus or within their major. That helps us get the word out a lot. This is something that is so useful, having those connections and being able to talk with our friends and other organizations about, hey, like, let's get the word out about SACNAS is something that has been really helpful. And then maintaining that throughout the years. We had a bunch of seniors graduate last year and had some students ready to go. We kind of do shadow positions at some points as well, so students can get familiar with the roles that they might want to apply for, and then can take on those roles after elections. So that's something that's been really useful too, so that we're not losing the seniors' knowledge and no longer having that and having to restart. We also work really, really well with each other. We have 7 e-board members and everyone has their own roles and we keep up with our roles. But when we're planning events or trying to come up with ideas, we meet bi-weekly and we really talk with each other and help each other out. So being a smaller chapter, this is a great way to not feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. As co-presidents or as treasurer, we're able to really assist each other and work within those roles to get events planned and keep our organization running. Also, our e-board members are so passionate about the mission of SACNAS. I think that's super, super important. I know at a smaller institution, at least, students kind of just want e-board positions to look good on their resume or to have something to do. But we've been really, really fortunate to have students that understand what SACNAS's mission is and want to see it run really well and are really dedicated to getting those things done. So that's something that has been super helpful in maintaining our chapter. Something else that we do that I don't think is required, but we find really helpful is meeting with our advisors also bi-weekly. We have 2 co-advisors, Dr. Jen Ailman, who is here today. She was involved in her SACNAS chapter at UPenn and brought SACNAS over to TCNJ when she started working here. And also Dr. Gio Parada, who's not here, but is super helpful from the faculty perspective. They both are like huge sources of or points of resource that we otherwise probably wouldn't have, and being able to meet with them and talk with them about any challenges we're facing from the student perspective is so, so useful. They have so many connections to different SACNAS chapters. For example, Jen, being part of the UPenn chapter, has been super helpful in planning events with UPenn, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But also getting speakers for different events, different opportunities for students as well. This is really, really where we rely on them. And also for social things, Gio, our co-advisor, invited us over and he made us soup and dinner one night. So it's a really great way for our e-boards to get connected with each other, but also for us to connect with the advisors who are also super passionate about SACNAS. So that's a great way for us to be connected with them and then kind of give each other the feedback that we're missing from each other's perspective. They also are super helpful with getting department and dean level support, which is something that we have had so much of. Faculty really love SACNAS and understand the mission that we're trying to push here. So they've been really helpful in promoting our events when we feel like maybe students aren't seeing our Instagram or are not in our group me. We have professors who are willing to put our flyers in their slideshows or their lecture for the day, and they want to tell their students, hey, if you go, we'll give you a point of extra credit, things like that. So that has been helpful, and I'm really, really grateful for those faculty members. Departments have also been able to collaborate with us as well and provide a little extra funding when we feel like maybe SFB is not providing that funding. So that's one way we've been able to kind of creatively navigate how to get funding for things without being denied because we're trying to get food. We do something called Cultural Confections, which is a collaboration with the biology department, who runs a cookies and conversation event. So that's something that students absolutely love. Last year, we were out of the baked goods that we had from 2 local Latino bakeries within 15 minutes. So that's something that we knew students would love to see, gets the word out about SACNAS without it being a super formal event, and also not having to pay for those bakeries ourselves. The bio department helped us out there. So that was something that went really, really well, and we are having in a week. So hopefully that one turns out well as well. And again, a great source of connections. They have alumni connections, which is something that we like to call back on. Obviously, we've had some seniors graduate from our chapter who love to come back, but students that weren't involved in SACNAS, but are alumni now, also love to come back and share their stories, share their journey. And if we don't know them, the faculty know them. So that's a great way to reach out as well. The key thing that our chapter did was filling in the gaps. Like I said, there's already a lot of established organizations on campus that are STEM related. So we wanted to figure out realistically, what are students missing that they want to see that they can get from us, that we can provide to them, different experiences or resources, and a big thing being spaces for community. Being at a PWI, it can be difficult to find other underrepresented minority spaces, especially relating to STEM. So that's something that we've really, really picked up on. And I think that faculty have picked up on as well. So I think that's why they support us so much. But also something that was lacking was knowing how to find research opportunities, looking for internships and REUs. So we have events catered toward that. Also showing students that there are different career options besides medical school and graduate school. I think that is primarily what our students are interested in. So we started something called an Industry Insight series where we have professionals in the workforce within STEM talking about their journey through STEM and also why they picked the career path they're on and what they're doing at that job, which has been super successful and I think really helpful for students to figure out what they want to do after graduating. We also had one Industry Insight series where they actually had some opportunities for our students, and 2 of our students got internships at that company, which was really, really huge for us. I really want to say that prioritizing impactful events is really helpful when you're starting out a new chapter and trying to get bigger engagement. There's general body meetings that are great for smaller events, but sometimes students don't know about those things until they hear about some big thing that you did. So for us, that was our Industry Insight series that we have a couple times throughout the semester, and then also how to present posters. Students might not know how to present their research, and TCNJ hosts a campus-wide event where we have all students talk about their achievements essentially. So we've had great success right before that event happens to show students how they should be presenting posters. This helps to create a brand for your organization. And Larissa, I think you touched on this as well, which is really important. If students can recognize these events that you're doing, they're more likely to know this is your brand, this is who you are. It makes planning for your e-board a lot easier, but it also just makes that recognition a little bit stronger. And also it entices new members. For us, our big event this semester will be going to the graduate school that UPenn has and seeing their biomedical programs and different opportunities there. This is in collaboration with the SACNAS chapter there, which is huge for us. Thank you, Jen, again, for being our incredible advisor and connecting us with them, but also really, really important to make those connections with local SACNAS chapters in your area. I really want to stress that. There are chapters everywhere and everyone wants to connect, everyone wants to work with you. Meeting people at NDI STEM is a huge way to do this, but also communicating online. We also work pretty closely with the Rutgers chapter as well. So trying to find who's in your area and figuring out different ways to collaborate is a great way to figure out events and larger scale events when you don't have a graduate chapter attached to you, who's nearby and can provide that extra information for your students is a great way to use that connection there. We also utilize NDI STEM as a priority for students, using the information of students who have been before and the opportunities that we've gotten through attending NDI STEM is a great way to advertise joining SACNAS. We've had now 2 or 3 students who weren't actively involved in our chapter be able to attend SACNAS. And because of that, now they are super actively involved in our chapter. So it's a great way to get students involved in SACNAS because it is a national thing. Students seem to be a little bit more interested in that rather than it being a smaller scale chapter at the college. So those are things that we have been really, really good at that if you are a smaller, newer chapter, I think could be really, really helpful in finding success. And that kind of wraps up my presentation. I know we have a little bit of time for questions later, so feel free to ask me anything about being a smaller chapter and being at a primarily undergraduate institution. I'm happy to answer those things, but thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So feel free to post anyone, any questions or any comments or suggestions as well in the chat. We have about 5 minutes left, so you know, we have a little bit of time for some questions. I guess for me, just to get started off, in terms of time commitment, I know that is an issue for, you know, maybe some officers out there that you know, kind of have like time commitment with being part of your chapter and other student organizations that they might be doing simultaneously. So what is kind of a tip on that in terms of how you you know, how you attack that issue, I guess, with your officers to ensure that they you know, are really active in part of your chapter, but also are not falling off in terms of their studies or you know, anything. So so yeah, so anyone from from you three? Any tips?
So we actually have something in place for this. So our chapter has a provisional period for all of our officers. So if you apply and you get accepted to be an officer, basically you're a provisional officer for like 4 months. And we're basically seeing like, hey, are you keeping up with everything that's going on, all the expectations? And if you are, then it's like, cool, at the end of the 4 months, like you're a full officer, you have voting rights, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't, then we have this thing called the support officer role. And basically it's like, if you don't have as much time as you would if you would need to commit to like being a full officer, which I think we put in our constitution something like you have to be like actively involved in the planning and execution of 75% of events during the semester. And for support officers, it's 25. So a lot of times if we have like officers that are graduate students that are about to defend, or undergraduates who are like seniors and about to leave and they want to be involved but don't have as much time as they used to, or don't have as much time period, then they're able to like take that support officer role and be involved in the leadership but not have to commit so much time. And we made it to where like if an officer isn't like meeting expectations for one semester, then we talk to them like, hey, we noticed you weren't like quite where you needed to be this semester, so we're going to ask you to step down into the support officer role. Or they can choose to move themselves to the support officer role at any time. And we've also had instances where officers like become support officers and then they're like, okay, I have more time, like after the semester was really crazy, now I'm a full officer again. And it's like, okay, cool, welcome back kind of thing. So that's given us a little bit of flexibility, much needed flexibility with our leadership.
I can touch on that for our chapter. That Larissa system is a very good system. We should implement that system because that's not what we do. When I was president, I'll be completely honest, you should do what Larissa said and make sure you don't take on more than your chapter can handle. Because when I became president, I took on a lot because I was like, we got to do all these things. I want to get recruitment up. I want to go to all these events. And I said yes to a bunch of things. And then it ended up being me that had to go and do all of them. And so while there was a payoff, there was a big payoff, there was a big pay in for me personally. My PI at the end of that first semester of me being president was like, good job. Let's not overcommit like that again. And so moving forward from that, I kind of developed this Google Doc basically. That was kind of an expected time commitment from each member. Like we expect you to lead the coordination of at least one event a semester and help supplement in these different roles in this different way, in these different ways. And I feel like by providing people who are interested in officer roles with kind of like what the time each week and each month looks like, I think that helps them understand, do I have the time in my schedule to do this? And so that's something that I recommend. It's hard to figure it out until you like accidentally overcommit and do too much. But that's kind of how we've handled it, is to have written guidelines on how much time we expect you to put in, and then the steps to take when you can't meet those commitments.
I'll like add one more thing to that. We are a huge university, so we don't have a lot of trouble like recruiting and stuff like that, but it is a little bit more difficult for us to get officers. So something that I would say is that if you have people that are interested in being officers, like the more officers you have, the less is gonna fall on any individual. And if someone's not meeting the cut as far as like commitment is concerned, because we've also had people that like become officers, don't meet the requirements, and then are like, okay, I'll just be a regular member again. Like no shame, like no hate. Like if you just go back to being a regular member, we're not gonna hate you. It's fine. But if you're not doing what you need to do, let someone else have the chance to do that. So kind
Yeah.
of making it to where there's not like a stigma if you step down as an officer. Like, you're fine if you become a regular member. We have like had many officers over the years that have stepped down and they still come to our events when they can and they still hang out with us and stuff like that. We're still friends. So kind of make sure you remove that stigma, like, no hate, no shame if you do want to step down from the officer position completely.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, so it looks like we are at time. Thank you very much to our speakers for attending and for all of you as well who are watching either live or in the recording as well. Stay connected with us. We have an active Instagram account called SACNAS Chapters, in which we post any updates, deadlines coming up, and also shout out chapters as well in there. And stay up to date with us on our website as well. We're always updating our website with any announcements or deadlines. sacnas.org/chapters. And last but not least, like I said, stay up to date via your chapter email address and your personal email address as well for any updates from SACNAS. And we're always here to answer any questions. Well, thank you all very much and looking forward to seeing you in the next webinar. Thank you all.